Good morning. It is almost 9 UTC here on Tuesday, the 22nd of October. So we'll go through Bitcoin first and yeah, see how that's looking overall. Just looking at some of the data that's coming out, the existing home sales tomorrow is going to be interesting. The more pertinent one, definitely the initial jobless claims going into the market open on Thursday. Next week is when the fireworks start to pop off and get crazy. We have lots of data coming out Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, geez, every day of the week, pretty much consumer confidence. So I'm expecting a pretty increase in volatility next week if the forecast and the actuals don't line up. Currently, it looks like the market's generally pricing in a 25 basis point cut for the next FOMC meeting, which should be, I believe, the 7th of November. But for right now, and not to mention the U.S. election, so I'm expecting a period of pretty wild volatility stuff. We're in the home stretch of that crazy nonsense. So we'll see what happens. Looking at Bitcoin, just first of all, taking a gander of the long shorts, overwhelmingly still short than long, which is still good. However, in the last couple of days, effectively the last 2 days or so, because we've had some localized breakdown, we're seeing some long stepping in to potentially buy the higher low. I think that because of this and the fact that we've got a decent amount of long liquidity below us, I think the priority right now is down just to grab that. Now the higher time frame can still remain intact, absolutely. If we come back to 65.5, I think that's good. But I'll go through that. I think the local priority, just we want to see some downside. Looking at funding rates as well, bearish across the board. All the big ones at 0.1. Yeah, everything outside of like some outliers. It's massively incentivizing a downside move continuation. Looking more specifically to the liquidity, and this is why it gets interesting, very heavy amounts of high leverage liquidity is just below us. Now, this is allowed to be built since the 15th, so about 7 days is just sitting below us down to the low that starts to get critical, at 65.5 low that we really want to see held. So I think because we've broken down here locally and we have a continuation loss into that low, I'd like to see a bullish reaction from that regains levels, but I think that's the local priority. The invalidation is really simple. We get back above some of the local highs here, like 67.8, call it, and we should see a sweep back up to retest the high structure just based off of liquidity alone. But we're a lot closer to the high leverage stuff below us, and it's the stuff above us is quite minimal in all reality. So if we do have a localized gain, we should see that sweep back up to like 68.8, maybe even 69K again. But yeah, you've got some local priority down. You want to see some regains to retest stuff. Until we get back above the high, we are looking at a little bit of a trend change because we've made new lows, we've lost local structure, and we're basically at long liquidity. So just keep that in mind. Be really quick to change your bias. If we do come back up to the highs, I'd probably look for an immediate short before I look for a long. The only long regain is basically invalidating the resistance we have above 69K. And then you should see a pretty strong move up into the low 70K zone just because of older, higher time frame short liquidity that's there. So for the time being, we're much closer to the long stuff below us. Looking at the chart, kind of general direction. So I'm still expecting that we're going to see an eventual failure of this demand. We've got overlapping demand here, which is good. We're holding it, but we're about 7 days into this higher low. So there's quite a bit of long liquidity underneath here, as we just saw. I want to see a bullish reaction if we come back down to these lows. We'd have to sweep all the way to August to clear out liquidity that's, effectively from Monday last week. The regain here, yeah, 67.6, 67.8. I think that regain that old June level, that would force us to do a retest higher up into the structure to retest stuff. And only on a regain of, say, the weekly open and, the previous 2021 all-time high would I actually see a breakout back to the upside. It's just overextended. It's overdue for a bit of a correction. We could easily come all the way back down to October Q4. What we want to see, if we happen to have a bigger move down to the zone, we need to see very bullish reactions. This is a major inflection point. It's got the Q4 and the Q3 in the same spot. Any loss of this zone, we should actually rip back into new lows sub 60K. But not all hope is lost. It still looks good in the higher time frame. We could still do some deeper retests and not break stuff. But this local structure just feels like it wants to have a continuation move back down. So I would say very simply, lose the support here. You have at 66.8K. You're looking for a retest at 66.5. You want to see a bullish reaction at this after we sweep that liquidity. if we do have a very strong regain, say, of this level, if we have, a sweep down, breakdown into this structure, and then we have a really strong regain back above that reestablishes support after grabbing liquidity, I can then see a potential continuation. But outside of that, you've got some targets of long liquidity below you. You've got some local priority, and it just feels like it's grinding off a cliff. Pretty similar to what we saw back in September, right? Where we did the first kind of leg down, did another leg down, kind of went sideways, consolidated, and then nuked through the whole structure. Now, I'm not expecting as deep. We can definitely go that far, but it just doesn't feel strong right here, especially with long stepping in, long liquidity below us. And yeah, quite a bit of turmoil expected in the markets, effectively from end of October, October 31st through the 7th is arguably going to be the most volatile time for the end of the year. So we'll go from there. Take it easy, and good luck trading. Peace.